All right, folks, we're back in studio with 2011 champion Kilian Jornet back here at Western States. Kilian, nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. Yeah.
You and Nick Danielson, who is here as well. You guys put in 20 miles on the course yesterday. Not much of a taper. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good today. It's kind of a rest day. I have been doing not much the last days, but yeah, I wanted to go to see a bit the course, get a bit the feeling of the heat, the dry air. It's even if I have been training well in Norway, like the environment there is not the same, so it's good to get a bit of taste.
Have you started looking at the weather forecast, and are you breathing a sigh of relief, because it does feel closer to Norwegian weather than Western States weather on race day?
I'm a bit disappointed.
Really?
I've been training very well on here, like because of with the injury, like I couldn't run a lot. So then I will do a lot of heat. So so then like I think I was wishing for like very hot conditions, but yeah, I will not complain about like having a bit cooler. That it's like still very hot for us.
Yeah. All right. So before we go into more Western States stuff, we were just chatting about your new project with Eliud Kipchoge. You guys are pretty analogous in terms of your impact on respective communities. Kipchoge, obviously, in the road and track space, you more in the trail and mountain space. Tell me about your guys' relationship and how this project came to be. I'm sure people would be interested to hear.
Yeah, no, it's like I have been like a lifetime admirer of Eliud's career and like how he brought running to a much wider audience, and just his mindset about the sports and about humans. And we had been connecting a few times before through mutual sponsors with Morten and Koros, and it was fun that when the team at Coach reached out and we were talking about like training, how we can bring like running and sports more accessible with a good base to more people. And yeah, it's I think that's the end goal, like to make sports like a bit more accessible and with good guidance. And Eliud is the best person to do that for running, like with the inspiration and the knowledge that he have. And it was a huge honor that they thought about me to join the team. And yeah, I'm still like up there in the clouds for that. So it's the beginning of a long adventure, I hope.
Cool. I haven't had a chance to really look into it too much, but I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, congratulations. Seems like another fun project to sink your teeth into, as just outside of sport a little bit and expand your impact. Coming back to the obvious thing and the elephant in the room is Western States Week, and you're back. It's the 15-year anniversary of your win here. Yeah. It's the 16-year anniversary of the Unbreakable year. Have you reflected at all? Because to me, like almost like the modern era of trail running started at Unbreakable in some ways. Do you reflect at all on just like the impact of that race had and that film had?
No, absolutely. I think those years were years of big change on the sport. We could see like before, like 2010s, it was very niche, the sport. Even if the story is like very long, like the sport was, you didn't see any spectators. People wasn't following the races besides like runners and families. And I think the impact that Unbreakable had here in US and different events, I think it's also like Kyle winning Hard Rock and Anthony in Leadville, and I was winning with Team B, and the beginning of like social media had a big impact, like that niche sport could like have a voice outside, and these pieces like Unbreakable, Born to Run, all that happened in a very short period of time. And I think it brought like trail running to the ears and eyes of a new generation, and it started to be a bit more more well known outside of the circle of people that was more mountaineer. So it had an impact, and we can see today look how the sport has changed. It's amazing. Like see the trial con, see how many people is following live streamings, and just the industry, like how it's changed. Like it's. We couldn't think about that like 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's funny. My white whale, like the one thing I want to do in my broadcasting career is to sit down with you, Hal, Anton, Jeff, and JB
That would
Bennett
be amazing,
and just
man.
chat
Yeah.
about that race and that film. There's so much to discover there. And actually, I've mentioned this before, but my wife and I's first date was watching Unbreakable, and now here we are, 15 years into our relationship. And anyway, it's just an incredible film that's had such an amazing impact on the sport, and I think inspired so many new people to discover the sport. But anyway, you're back here at Western States. You ran 14:19 last year, incredible performance for third place. What do you feel like you can do better? Why'd you decide to come back this year?
Well, doing top 10, I got a ticket back, so it's hard to refuse somehow. And then last year I felt great during the race. I came a bit afraid with heat and about some legs problems, and I was very careful during all the race, and then I felt great at the end, and I was thinking it didn't feel like unfinished business at all. But it's more like fun. I want to try to do those things, and I know it's a race that it don't suits me, but that's the fun thing of sports. Is about challenging oneself, and it's that's probably the worst race to my capacities, and that's what it makes it exciting. And that's probably that's the personal part of me wanting to come back to the race, and it's always an amazing experience. You mentioned I was running here 15, 16 years ago. Already there you could feel this deep culture around the race, and it's a very particular ambience that somehow makes me love it, even if the race is yesterday I was running the last 20 miles, and it was that's boring. That's so boring. But that makes more fun during the race, that it's kind of challenging, and you are running through the history of the sport.
Yeah, incredible. So I read your report from last year, and clearly you were happy with the result. And there was one particular thing that I think would be interesting to have you comment on, which is when you had the sensation that the front of the pack was moving a little bit too quickly for you, and you backed off. And that ultimately was the move that separated Caleb and Chris from you. Do you ever in a post-mortem analysis of your race, feel like maybe I should have held on to that move and things might have played out differently? Or
you think about that, but then it's I'm someone that I never think about parallel universe. That's a parallel universe. It didn't happen for many reasons. So we need to see how it is, and reality is the one that it is. And I think through my life I had many experiences where I could regret afterwards of my decisions and where they led to. But reality is that I took those decisions, and I ended up there. And I cannot be thinking about what if, because that's not real. So it's just I always think okay, I'm at that point today, what I can do from now on, never what I could have done in the past, because that's it's good to study, and maybe in a race it's just an anecdote, maybe more on mountain things, that if you do mistakes, and then it's good to analyze what you have done to not do the same mistake in the future, but not to try to live on what if had happened if I did that otherwise.
Yeah. When you announced your season this year, you announced Western States here as an all UTMB. You eventually added Zagama, but part of your announcement was that you're really motivated to race. And of course, we'll remember the couple personal projects that you focused on recently that were amazing. And I want to talk a little bit about those, but maybe what awakened the competitive desire in you?
Well, apart that I'm feeling strong, that seeing my trainings the last year, especially in short things, in uphills, I have been doing my best times ever, and it's I'm still competitive. And then just logistics, we have 3 kids. Emily, after the last pregnancy, she's back to very high level. And a long project, it takes a lot of time on preparation and then on being there. So we wanted to have a easier logistic year, so we could both like race and races. It's kind of, we know more or less how to prepare it, the travels and the logistics. So it's kind of easier to do a race than a project on that way, and it felt good to go to races that I have been racing before, that I kind of know, and I know also that it will be a good challenge in terms of competition.
Did you watch the Dean Potter documentary, The Dark Wizard?
Yeah, I did it. It's they made a great job, I think, also showing like it's not only about I grew up like seeing Dean Potter, and like it was a big inspiration, like how he brought like creativity into all these different sports, like from like, I think it's hard to understand today, like Alex Honnold or like Carlos Suarez or Leo Holding on the base jump scene, or like all this like lining, without the figure of Dean Potter. So he was a huge inspiration for multiple disciplines, but it's not the documentary do a good way to show that it's not only about the lights, but it's also like all the shades and yeah, I enjoyed watching it, even if it removes a lot, because like I think we are all like, especially in those risky sports, like we are all like having some shades that it impels us to do those things.
The reason I ask is one of the themes of the documentary is sport as performance art, and how Dean thought of his profession as an art and as spirituality almost, rather than just competition. I feel like there is an overlap with what you do, and especially recently with Alpine Connections, States of Elevation. Have you thought about that, about just like bringing an artistic, almost spiritual lens to your craft as an athlete?
Well, like I think it's I think it was Anatoly Bukharev, Russian alpinist, or Kazakh alpinist, that he said very well. He said like something in the lines of mountains are not stadiums where I practice my or where I perform, but they are the cathedrals where I practice my religion. And I couldn't agree more on that. Like for me, mountains is the place I want to be, where I feel myself, where I want to express, and where I can find like ways of expression. And then competition is somehow a way to get the capacities to be able to do that. It's a very easy carrot that you put in front of you to say, okay, if I have this race, I need to train hard, and that will allow me to unlock new capacities that then in the big picture will allow me to move in the mountains more freely, or being able to do bigger projects.
So speaking of art, after Zagama, you were open about the injury you were experiencing in your knee. And one of the things that you said is that it's an opportunity to train more creatively. And I feel like that word creative was used intentionally. What did you mean by that? And I mean, knowing you and having followed you and read so much of what you've put out about your training, you think really deeply about it. And bringing creativity to this situation, I don't know, to me, that's an interesting thing that I'm sure the audience would love to hear more about.
Yeah, no, it's sure that, well, I had been like feeling a bit the pain on the knee, like for the last years, and especially like the weeks before Zagama. And of course, it's not a good like knee when like 1 month from Western States, you hear like, I do the MR and I saw what I had, and it's like, okay, I cannot run like for at least 2 weeks, like absolute not running. So it's like, okay, if I can not run for 2 weeks, I have like 2.5 weeks to run before Western. It's not an ideal scenario for that. And then you need to be creative to see, okay, what I can do to try to get ready for the race. And just like, it's a gamble, I would say. Like it's it's not a perfect preparation. Like I would do like it's not that I choose to just stop 2 weeks of running for the sake of it. It's just like with those conditions, what I can do and gamble a bit about that kind of preparation that is very short, but at the same time, it's interesting to think, can it work?
So cutting to the chase, what is the state of your health right now? What's the confidence level in your knee? You have mentioned also that it's the flatter, faster stuff that aggravates it more.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of a bit of the point, because it's more when I run fast, like a race like at Zegama, for example, I could see that in the uphills it was okay, but then when you are running in the flats and in the downhills, then it started to be painful. But then like the speed there, it's quick. Like you go like at 3 flat or something like that in the flats and downhills. Western States, like it's a fast race, but you are not like going fast as compared to a short race, but it's still like a lot of flat running. So I don't know, like being honest, I don't know how I will react. I have been training well. I have been doing some long runs that makes me confident, that I know that uphill I think I'm feeling strong, and on the flat I think I can keep a good pace if I don't push a bit too fast, that it triggers a bit the pain. I think I can manage it, but it will be as I mentioned, it's a gamble. I will shoot it in the race, but like I'm here to play. Like in the start line, I will think about trying to win and try to put the best I have and the strategy to try to do that.
Yeah. We've been talking about just the strength of the European contingent this year. And on the men's side, yourself, Francesco Puppi, Thomas Carden, I'm forgetting somebody here, Vincent Bouillard. And in the history of the race, only you and Tom Evans have won on the men's side that are European athletes. Similar things are true in the opposite direction, Americans going to UTMB. Have you thought about that at all, or comments just on the learning curve that it takes for European athletes to succeed here?
Yeah, I would say like now it's not about preparation, like all those athletes that go to race with me from US or that come from Europe to race here, they are all equally like talented and have the same capacities. But I would say it's the adaptation to to the resilience of the race, and it's very different, the resilience that is needed at UTMB than here, and probably it's that environment that we are not used on, like the dryness of the air, on the hot temperatures, on like very monotone trails, that it's easy to run for like maybe 10 hours, but when it starts to get hard, it's when you go to your basic levels, and that is hard probably for us Europeans to keep that that step when like everything is not in our natural environment. And same goes from Americans when the last hours of UTMB probably.
So coming back to last year's race, is there anything in particular that you think you can do better? Yeah, like I think last year I could see like I think my heat training was good and the management of nutrition, but sure that I think I was also waiting a bit too much before starting to push hard. I think I can start pushing hard a bit before, but then I don't know how with the injury that will react. But I think just to there a bit more like on going fast a bit earlier. That's why I asked you about covering that move after Robinson Flat, because Travis did some number crunching. He did a little analysis, and he found that you lost 5 minutes to Caleb and Chris between Last Chance and Michigan Bluff, I think it was, but then you finished like 2 minutes behind Chris. So that's why I was wondering of like, well, if Kilian would have covered that move, maybe he's in contact with Caleb going down Cal Street. And of course we're doing a hypothetical, but
it's hard to know, like, but for sure, I think like if I was in the same situation with that knowledge, I would try to follow.
Yeah. So one thing I've been asking everybody who's been coming in here is just like the balance between like having a plan and then reacting to the circumstances of the race in the moment. I'd love for you to provide your contribution on that.
Yeah, I think it's very important to have plans on every race, especially in ultras, nutrition-wise, with the hydration, with the pace in general. But those plans is like kind of a big, it's just a plan.
Yeah.
It's not like a script of the race, and it's good to give some context and to avoid big mistakes, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But then you need to adapt. Like if you see moves happening, or you need to adapt to them, and that can be moves that you feel that okay, this guy, I thought that he was going to be stronger on those sections, but I see that he's struggling. Maybe if I push a bit more, like they will explode, or the opposite. Like I'm struggling here that I didn't thought that, and also in nutrition, like if you start to feel okay, it's warmer or it's cooler, or I feel that I need more calories or I need less. I feel that my stomach is not reacting well. Maybe I need to stop for a while. Like you need to be adapting all the time. I think that's the magic of the ultras. Yeah. It's not about following a plan. It's about like interpreting all the signs that are happening during the race and adapt that plan to the reality.
Speaking of making moves, I can't resist the temptation to ask you this. Just thinking back to where we started the conversation with Unbreakable, in that film, it's captured you trying to make the move on the descent from Last Chance to the swinging bridge. They ended up covering it or, reconnecting with you sort of at Devil's Thumb. Last year, we've already talked about the move that ended up deciding the race. Maybe you could just comment on just like the dynamic of how the sport at the front of the pack has changed, but in that 15 years, about like where moves are being made now versus back then.
I think the strategy haven't changed that much. It's just some of the dynamics, because I like if we see how these races are won today, like where are the moves happening, and we can see here, we can see at UTMB, at all the races, it's really not about how the sport changes. It's like just the quality of every different athlete, and we see that when Jeff Rose won the race, it was about like keeping a steady pace and pushing very hard at the end. And we have been seeing that also with Jim some years, that he's winning the race because he's able to keep that very strong pace all the long. Yeah. And sometimes we see like, it's a very clear move that it's happening. So I think it's more depending on the internal quality of the athlete than the moment. What is changing is the density of the athlete, so it's a bit more things happening probably now because it's more dense. Mm-hmm. and also with all the knowledge that we have today about like cooling, about hydration, about fueling, about pacing, all the assistance that we have today, like it's going much faster. So also like the mistakes that you do, maybe because we are pushing more to the limit, maybe it's a bit harder to recover. Yeah,
the mistakes have bigger consequences now. Yeah. Final question for you, Kilian. I've been asking everybody the same thing, and the idea is to try and help the audience understand what it feels like to be in your shoes at a stage like this. Obviously, over the course of your career, you have done this many, many times, but for a lot of people, like this really is a pinnacle moment of their life and their career. And if you were able to win here, it would be another just incredible seismic achievement in a career that has just been filled with such things. But still, I'm sure you feel the magnitude of this moment, being at Western States 15 years after you won. If there's any way that you can communicate how you feel in your heart and soul heading into what is sure to be a very hard day and a very special day.
I feel gratitude, like to be able to be here. That to my body, that has allowed me to arrive here, to the people that is organizing the race, mostly, like that they have been putting that year after year. Without them, like the athletes, we come here to enjoy, to have amazing memories that will last all our lives, to experience like things that they will be very deep, like even if it goes well, if it goes badly, like it's very deep emotions. But all this wouldn't be possible without the organizers and without all the people that it's doing all the work to make it possible. So like I feel very thankful to them for that. And I think I'm in a point on my career where like I don't feel the stress about winning. Like I want to win. Like I mentioned, like in the start line, I will just thinking about trying to win the race. But I don't feel that stress that I could feel like 10, 15 years ago about like it's something that I really wanted deep and that it will change my life. Today I'm just like grateful to be here. I would say grateful to be healthy, but but mostly just to be part of this and to be able to see how the sport is evolving, how new athletes are like making me to train harder, to push harder.
Yeah.
So it's just grateful to be part of this sport.
Yeah. Of course, you have nothing to prove. So an attitude of gratitude is perfectly appropriate. And speaking of which, we are certainly very grateful for you to come into the studio and sit with us and speak a little bit about your experience here at the race and your emotions and mindset leading into it again here in 2026. Kilian Jornet, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, everyone.